Turn camera on. All right. For today's lecture, we're going to talk about event sponsorship, product placement, and branded entertainment. Now, previously we have talked about integrated branding promotion and why IBP is so important because the normal advertisement or normal way of advertising is creating a lot of noise. So consumer kind of put off when they look into the normal advertisement. So one way of getting around this obstacle or getting around of this annoyance, because we do not want to annoy our consumer. So one way of getting around this annoying event is to come up with an event sponsorship, and we place product in television, movies, and all that, and also by having a branded entertainment. So how do we do this? Okay, we can come up with what we call advertainment. Okay, advertainment means a combination of advertising and entertainment. So this is if you read the textbook, this is like what they call conversion between medicine and wine. So now, um, what is medicine and wine? And why we call it medicine and wine? We're going to talk about this later. But basically, why we converge advertisement and entertainment together, because as I said, advertisement is an interruption. Okay, um, we are like telling the consumer for their time, let's say for 30 seconds of the time. So this is quite annoying. So consumer is avoiding advertisement. So because of this, because of consumer avoiding a normal advertisement, so this is a theory by Bob Garfield. He talks about inexorable death spiral, meaning basically people are shying away from the normal advertisement. So because of that, that there's no audience for that kind of advertisement, or there's no kind of audience for that particular media. So when people shy away, consumer is shying away from that normal media. So advertisers spend less and less money to advertise in that particular media. So when there is when less and less money spent on this kind of media, then um, less it will cost less viewer in this media. So slowly and slowly this media is going to die off. So this is basically a theory by Bob Garfield. Okay, so now we look at what is Madison and Vine. So Madison Avenue basically is a street in New York. So it's synonymous with advertising companies, meaning there's a lot of advertising agencies in this street, in this Madison Avenue. And Vine Street is where the Hollywood, to be exact, right? So Madison Avenue is for advertising, Vine Street is for Hollywood. So Hollywood, is for entertainment. Advertising is for advertisement, and all that. So when you combine these two together, you got the conversion of Madison and Vine. So now, what is this Madison and Vine? Meaning, it's concept of concept to describe that advertising now has shifted to entertainment. Means all of us wanted to be entertained. We love movies, we love music, we love video games, that. And some of the or most of the consumer now avoiding advertisement. So if people are avoiding advertisement, but people still they're still wanting to have entertainment. So advertisers need to migrate to entertainment as well. So they converge. Okay, the convergence of advertisement and entertainment is what we call the convergence of medicine and vine. Means the convergence of the advertising agencies in Madison Square and the Hollywood in Vine Street. Okay, so you put together, it become Madison and Vine. So when you put together, you got this what we call advertainment. Okay, advertainment. Now, why we have Madison and Vine? Because again, the chaos scenario by Bob Garfield. Okay, just now when Bob Garfield talks about the exodus of traditional broadcast media to entertainment, so the money will go to the new media. So what is a new media? New media can be social media, can be entertainment. All right. So this is what Bob Garfield is trying to say. But when you have this doomsday theory, for example, um, it's not really accurate. Okay, because previously when we have television, people are telling that this is the death of the newspaper, but we can see that newspaper is still surviving until today. And also when we have television, they say that there will be a death to the radio, and we know that radio is still survive until today. In fact, radio means survive and adapt to the new media. And when we have social media, then they say that this will be the death of television, but not so true, because television is still surviving until today. So um, it's not really that whenever we have a new media, it will be a spell, a death spell for the previous media. Not really so, because if you look at the facts, if you look at the current situation right now, um, whenever we have something new, okay, whenever we have something new, the old media just need to adapt, just need to adapt, to embrace the change, right? So for them to survive and for them to strive. So for example, let's take the most conventional media, which is the newspaper. um, you know that newspaper may not be as widely circulated as before, but we can see that newspaper also surviving by reducing costs, then they become smaller, or they adapt to the new media by migrating to the digital world. Means now you're not reading newspaper in the physical sense, but you're reading newspaper in digital form. So uh, okay, my cat is agreeing with me. All right, now, so what I'm trying to say is, as a marketer, do not discard or do not ignore the old media. Okay, why? Because the old media still have a place to has a role to play in the advertisement or in marketing in the current world. Okay, now we go to the event sponsorship. Okay, event sponsorship. Why event sponsorship become more and more prominent? Because of this the theory just now. Okay, because people are ignoring advertisement. Okay, people are ignoring advertisement, but people wanted to be entertained. People wanted to experience the brand. Okay, when you have event sponsorship, is basically you are giving one of the way for you to give experience to the consumer. So now, why event sponsorship is quite popular right now? Because of the one is the coverage. Coverage can be by way of social media, can be by way of television. So if this event covered by social media and television, then it become wider. Means the eyeball which see your brand will be wider. And whenever you sponsor an event, you're getting close with your target audience. Why? Because let's take for example this Red Bull. Okay, let's say this Red Bull now, in this photo they are sponsoring, I think this is some extreme sport, I think a bicycle or BMX freestyle event. So now whenever you sponsor an event, those who come to that event, who are really into that event, means they are really uh, they like that event, that's why they go for that event. For example, those the spectators or those who watch the live coverage of this event, those who are really like that event, those who are really into the event. So when you sponsored that event, then you know that you are getting close to the target audience. Okay, for example, this Red Bull, it is a energy drink, but unlike for example any other energy drink like 100 plus, for example. Okay, um, 100 plus will not associate themselves with extreme sport. You may see 100 plus sponsoring sports like badminton, fun walk, a marathon perhaps, but not extreme sport. Okay, extreme sport more of Red Bull. Red Bull, they sponsor this kind of event like BMX, freestyle, motocross, F1. Okay, it's kind of extreme, meaning it's not a normal sports. Okay, so when Red Bull sponsored extreme sport, they know that the target audience will be there. Okay, so that's why they sponsor all those related associated sport event with Red Bull. And this is how you leverage communication or activity that link between the brand and event. For example, whenever I talk about extreme sport, then instantly you will remember about Red Bull. Okay, when I talk about extreme sport, you don't recall let's say Coca-Cola, you don't recall 100 plus, you don't recall um, let's say what else, 7 Up. Okay, because you never associated um, Coca-Cola or 100 plus with extreme sport. Okay, the moment I talk about extreme sport, your mind will definitely associate Red Bull with extreme sport. So this is how you enforce. Okay, this is how you enforce what's in the mind of the consumer. Means you know that you wanted to be known as someone, or you wanted to be known as a product to support extreme sport, right? So that is your niche market. So your niche market is extreme sport enthusiasts. So you need to enforce the link between extreme sport and Red Bull by sponsoring all this extreme sport event. Okay, so that's the meaning of leveraging the communication or activity, enforcing the link between the brand and the event. Okay, that is Red Bull is trying to do here, meaning leveraging or enforcing the link between Red Bull and extreme sport event. All right. Any question at this stage? No question. All right. Now, let's assume that you are a marketer for this event and you try to get sponsors for this kind of event, right? So, when you wanted to match, okay, what you wanted to match between the event and also the sponsors. Okay, you wanted to get sponsors for your event. So you wanted to match, right? So one of the guidelines, okay, guideline number one, you need to match the brand to the event. Okay, so the strategy is to match the brand personality. For example, let's say let's say in Uniqueness Business School, for example, as you are one of the committee for the club. Let's say you wanted to um, organize, let's say, an event about what? Let's say for a run, fun run, 5 kilometer run,
Color run.
color run, for example. Okay, now color run. Now, uh, do you, if you approach Red Bull, for example, to sponsor your event, is that color run and Red Bull? It has a match personality. Does it? No, right? But what kind of sponsors? What kind of brand which have that matching personality with Coloran?
100 plus
Polo.
Puma.
What?
100 plus Puma.
100 plus Puma. Okay. How about the
Pilot.
colors? Pardon? Well, okay, now Coloran. What do you try to project with Coloran? What kind of image that you wanted to project by having Coloran? You wanted to project the image of fun, correct? Fun, relax, chill out, you know that. Okay, you can chill, you know that, because it's not really a run, but you actually go for fun, is it, with your friends, correct? So that is the personality: fun, relax. What else? Maybe like, okay, five.
Healthy.
Pardon me.
Healthy.
Healthy, okay, for health. So now, what kind of a brand which would have a similar personality of that image? Health, fun, togetherness. What kind of brand? Okay, just now you said about 100 plus and Puma. Okay, cool. No problem, because um, um, Puma and 100 plus is about health. How about fun? What kind of a brand which would project that kind of image? Fun, hang out together with your friends. Would McDonald's fit that criteria?
Yes.
All right. So,
Yes.
all right now,
Yes.
and that's what I'm trying to say is, whenever you wanted to market your event to get the sponsors, you look at what is your objective of your event, what kind of image that you wanted to project for your event. Then you try to match that with the sponsors, with the brand. Because if I say, if I'm um, the, let's say, the CEO for Red Bull, for example, then you come to me and say, "Hey Sharin, why don't you sponsor my 5 kilometer fun run, color run, for example?" I would, I will not sponsor that event because it doesn't match my brand personality. Okay, because if I sponsor, if Red Bull sponsor a 5 kilometer color run, somehow it give a different message to the consumer that, hey, look, and now Red Bull is no longer extreme sport, is it? Now it become more like a very relaxed. So it will alienate my fan base. Okay, so um, whenever you wanted to market your event to for sponsorship and all that, you need to match the personality of the brand, okay, with your event. Secondly, you need to define your target audience. Okay, because for example, just now Red Bull, when they sponsored hardcore or extreme sport, they know that that is their audience. Okay, that's their right audience. The third guideline is to stick to few key messages. Okay, now sometimes uh, the event manager or event organizer or even the brand, okay, when they sponsor an event, they come up with too many messages. Okay, then when you come up with too many messages, then it become cluttered already. Then it become at the square one, like the old media. It become cluttered. It becomes so noisy. So for event sponsorship, make sure that the messages are very few. Means you may want to stick to one, let's say one tagline or two key messages and just stick to it. Means whatever you put in the event location or whatever you wanted to put in the social media or in the mass media to promote your event, just stick to one or two messages only. Okay, so people can that message sticks, right? If you give so many messages, it become cluttered. Then it defeat the purpose. The fourth one I like is develop a plot line. Okay, now, basically you give a narrative. Okay, you give a narrative just like a novel, just like telling a story. You begin with the introduction, then there's a content in the middle, and then you end your story, right? So you need to think about your narrative. So this narrative, okay, is very important when you do advertising. Every time they will ask you what is your narration, what is your narrative, what are you trying to say? For example, in your key messages, right? What is you trying to say to your consumer about your product, about your service, about your event, about your brand? So what is the narrative? Okay, so this is something that you're telling a story to your consumer, to your audience. It's the same thing when you do your when you try to sell something, you're like personal selling. When you do presentation, when you do oral presentation, either you are presentation to sell your product or to sell your idea or to sell your um, final semester report, for example. Meaning, at the end of the semester, you need to give me your oral report and your written report, right? So make sure that you follow the same principle. Okay, what is the principle? The principle is you need to remember that you are telling a story. Okay, so of course, when you tell a story, it need to flow. Okay, the idea must flow. Meaning, not only the idea must flow, also the idea must be presented in a very interesting way. Okay, why? Because when you tell a story in a very mundane tone or mundane technique, then people will become boring, right? People do not want to listen. People do not want to watch or to listen to your story. So when you tell a story, you need to make it interesting. So the principle about giving an oral presentation for your subject or giving oral presentation to sell your product in the future or selling basically all this, you are selling an idea. You need to get the audience to subscribe to your idea. You need to get the audience to buy your idea. So you need to make it interesting. Okay, so you need to develop a plot line. Okay, you do the maybe you do the usually in marketing or advertising they have this um, what do you call this, the plot line. Okay, um, scene A, what is going to happen, scene 2, what is going to happen, scene 3, and all that until the end. You just make sure that there's a flow. Okay, if there is no flow, then your story may not be interesting. People may not understand what you're trying to say. So develop a plot line. Okay, develop a plot line just like a novel, just like you are telling a story. And then if you try to get sponsors for your event, you may wanted to deliver exclusivity. you may have heard that sometimes you have so many sponsors in an event. So how do you create exclusivity? Okay, perhaps the main sponsors, you call them the platinum sponsors, and then you have gold sponsors, then you have what do you call this, silver sponsors. So when you have, for example, platinum sponsors, maybe only one sponsor there, okay, one brand that sponsor as a platinum sponsors. So you create exclusivity. Why? Because everyone like to be exclusive, right? Everyone wanted to be unique. So when you give the uniqueness, you give the privilege to the sponsors. They feel, so this is human nature, right? So whenever they feel exclusive, they feel being highly regarded, then they most likely to be cooperative. They most likely to hand you the assistance. So give them a sense of exclusivity. Okay, because why? Because you want their money. And then we know just now an event is in one location, you need to spread the news, right? So use the internet to promote your event. Okay, so you can use the internet, you can use the television, you can use the radio, you can use the mass media. Okay, you can use the social media to promote your event. Why? Because the event is in one location, so you need just to spread the news before, during, and after the event. All right, this is where you need to plan the before and after. Okay, this is part of the larger scheme. Means all this, okay, develop a plot line, exclusivity, internet, plan for the before and after. This is something which you need to think of, right? So just like when you're telling a story or you write a novel, okay, firstly, before the event, you need to tell the audience or those who are interested with the event about that event. Okay, why they should come to that event, when is the event, okay, where is the event, giving the information, you know that. And then during the event, maybe now we have live, like you have Instagram live, Facebook live, or television, they can have live telecast. Radio also can have a live telecast. So all this, okay, is how you plan during the event. And then what happened after the event? And then you need to do a follow-up. Why? Because um, this has something to do with your brand, okay? Why? Because we learn about integrated brand promotion, right? So branding, when we talk about brand is not something and one-off event. Branding is a continuous event. So you cannot have one event, okay, one event to create a brand. That's not how you do it. Okay, so you need to make sure there's a continuous effort to build your brand. So maybe you have one event, then what's next? After one event, what is your next um, program to enhance your brand equity, to enhance the brand reputation? Okay, so you need to make a very thorough strategy. For example, like let's say 1 year, 2020. How are you going to enhance your brand? How are you to increase the brand loyalty? How are you going to increase your brand reputation? Okay, most of the time they have like 5 to 10 years program, and then yearly they have what are the activities that you're going to integrate to enhance your brand reputation, okay, to build your brand. So this is a part of the larger scheme. Okay, so that is that guideline. Then you have, right, product placement. Okay, product placement. Now, before I go to the product placement, any question about event sponsorship? No question, yeah? All right. Now,
No.
okay, now we go to the product placement. So now, when we talk about product placement, it talks about how do you place your product in a media. Okay, now one is television. Okay, you won't see this kind of television anymore. This is very old television, very classic. When I choose this photo, I choose it because it's something you have not seen before, right? Last time television they have this cover, okay, to cover the screen. You know why? Because when they first introduced television, television is something which is so rare, okay, so rare and very precious, quite expensive. So they have a lot of why they put cover because it gives some sense of security that they because television is quite precious, okay, quite precious, quite expensive last time. So when you have cover, then you can make sure that there's no damage to the television. Now all your television, flat screen and all that, just hanging there, nobody going to scratch it and all that, right? Why? Because it's so cheap. Uh, well, it depends on the brand, but basically you you can get television anywhere basically, right? So it's not really a what we call this expensive item. Now when you wanted to place your brand in the television, okay, you can sponsor, okay, you can sponsor your brand or sponsor a program like soap opera, okay. um Anyone know why we call it soap opera?
No.
No, right? Um, well, I do not know for sure why they call it a soap opera. Um, but soap opera is something that you can watch maybe from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock or to 2 to 4 o'clock at the television. Something like a series, a television series, which somehow when you watch it, you thought that it would never end because every week they will before they end the show, there will be like something happen for you just to attract you to watch next week, right? So that's a soap opera. Now you can sponsor a program, okay, like soap opera, but you need to know what is your target market. Right? The same thing when let's say a program like Amazing Race, okay, Amazing Race. Now um, this like Virgin Atlantic, Vietnam Airlines, they sponsor program like Amazing Race. Why? Because we know that Amazing Race program it involves a lot of traveling from one destination to another destination, right? Usually from one country to another country. So when you wanted to travel fast, safe, and then you wanted to have a reliable air service, airline service, then you need to fly. So you airline is quite related to Amazing Race. So you to and Amazing Race have a high rating as well. A lot of viewers. So if you sponsor program like Amazing Race, then you get a lot of exposure. And sometimes you don't really we have talked before this because we say that advertisement is annoyance is annoying because it is an interruption to the consumer, right? But then what if during the program, okay, during the program you have someone using your product? For example, let's say you have American Idol, then you put in a glass of water which has Coke brand, okay, which prominently showing Coke brand during the program. So you see Randy Jackson sipping Coke during the show. So well, basically Randy Jackson doesn't say about now let all of you, all the consumer, please buy Coca-Cola. He didn't say that. What he did was he's giving comments, giving comments about the singer, about the participant, and after that he sips. the Coca-Cola. He sips the water. He sips the drink. So when people see Randy Jackson sipping Coke during the show, so that basically an exposure. Okay, that is what we call placing your product in the television. Means there's no interruption because that sipping when Randy Jackson sipping the drink during the show, there's no interruption. It's part of the show, right? So there's no interruption. But then that's how you use placement, product placement in television. Secondly, you can put your product in movies. Okay, like the Italian Job. Okay, the Italian Job. They sponsored Mini Cooper. Okay, they sponsored Mini Cooper to be used during the movie. So now, this when they put in Mini Cooper in the Italian Job movie, there's no interruption. Means when you watch the movie, you wanted to watch the movie, you heard about the movie, then you go to the cinema and watch the movie. Then you see the actors and actresses driving um, Mini Cooper all around Rome. Okay, so this is kind of exposure which do not interrupt the consumer's entertainment. Means you don't have the movie, then suddenly they stop the movie for a while to show advertisement about Mini Cooper. No, Mini Cooper become part of the movie. Okay, so uh, there's no or zero interruption to the consumer. All right, so this is how you place your product in the movies. And you also can put your product in video games. Okay, now a lot of you during this movement control order, you play video games. All right, so now when you play video games, then if you can put your logo or your brand in the video games, then there's no interruption. For example, let's see, you see these three players here. I think this Arsenal. You can see Arsenal is Fly Emirates, right? So somehow your brand is there in the video games. So the video game player now being exposed to Fly Emirates, to Emirates Airline. So that is advertisement as well with zero interruption. And then you see at the back, say no to racism. Let's assume, or hypothetically, let's say instead of putting say no to racism, we put here Uniqueness Business School, for example. Okay, now if we put here say no to tourism, we substitute that with Uniqueness Business School. Now, when people play this game, they saw Uniqueness Business School at the back. Okay, here, this part. Now, this is part of advertisement with zero interruption. Why? Because while playing the game, while enjoying the game, the player inadvertently saw a brand at the back here. Okay, so that is how you expose or you place your product in video games. Now, another way of exposing your brand is by branded entertainment. Okay, we know that like F1, for example, Petronas. Okay, Petronas sponsoring Mercedes. Okay, Mercedes teams, and even better, Mercedes are winning for I think 3 to 4 years in a row. So now the name Petronas being every time you watch F1, you will see Petronas. Okay, and then better still, Mercedes team are winning 4 to 5 years in a row. So somehow you are saying that Petronas is a winning team. Okay, if you want to win, you put Petronas petrol in your tank, in your car tank. So it's kind of advertisement as well. Why? Because luckily Petronas now in the winning team, meaning because the whole team is winning. So Petronas, the Mercedes is using Petronas as their petrol, okay, as their fossil fuel. So Petronas also being regarded as the best fuel, meaning winners are using Petronas product. Okay, so that's brand entertainment. Okay, that's brand entertainment. Right. Last one. Okay, last one. How do you coordinate all this? Okay, we know that integrated brand promotion is all about coordination. Integrated branding promotion is all about using or promoting your brand in different channel, different branding tools like social media, mass media, and also sponsorship, you know that. Then how do you coordinate all this? Okay, how do you give your separate your tasks? Okay, how do you get funding? Okay, your budgets. Okay, then who will lead this all the advertisement? Is it the internal department in the company, or you outsource to the marketing advertising agencies? So this is the coordination. All right. Any question? Any question? Okay, now let me ask you something. Okay, all this event sponsorship, okay, it's all about experience, right? Branding, when you sponsor an event, it's all about experience. This is what we call experiential marketing. Now, during this pandemic and after this pandemic, then we have the new norm where people don't really go out. Okay, they keep on social distancing, you know that. If people don't go out, okay, to event, why? Because all this pandemic, all the event are cancelled. Then how do you give experience to your consumer? How you get your consumer to experience your brand? What's your opinion? What is your suggestion? How to deliver the experience to the consumer with this pandemic and post COVID-19 pandemic? When we have the new norm, okay, then you need to market your product differently. So you need to give experience to your consumer. You need to deliver the experience to your consumer, to your audience. But because of the new norm, social distancing and all that, you can't get people to go to an event. So how do you give the experience to the consumer? Any opinion? Anyone wanted to suggest how? Questions? Any opinions?
Uh,
Yes.
are you talking about social distancing?
Uh-huh. Yes. Um, what I'm trying to say is event sponsorship is all about deliver the experience to the consumer, right? This is what we call experiential marketing. Now, with this COVID-19 pandemic and post after this pandemic, we're living in the new norm. We're living in the new world. You need to change, right? Now, when people are practicing social distancing, people do not want to go to your stores. People do not want to go to an event. Why? Because they're afraid that they may catch this virus. Then how do you deliver the brand experience to your consumer? That is my question.
Through technology,
What kind of technology?
phones, laptop, social media.
Okay, yeah. I understand that we can have social media, but then social media is something that you can see, right? You can hear, but you don't really experience that product. Because if you sponsor an event, okay, and people, if you go to any event, for example, you have all the senses, meaning you can see, you can hear, you can smell, you can feel means if you go, let's say, for you go to a rock concert, for example, okay, if you go to a rock concert, or any concert, you can see, you can hear, you can smell, you can feel, means you can feel the excitement, all right, with the drums, with the guitars, that even if you go to any event, you can feel the adrenaline. Okay, you can touch, the product. But with right now, with the social distancing, the control order, you can't really move, you cannot go to the stores, so you cannot experience the product, or you cannot experience the brand. So as a marketer of a brand, how do you overcome this?
How about we ask for the artist to marketing our product?
Okay, meaning influencers lah, right?
Uh,
Okay, that's one way of doing things. Means through YouTube, that. But just now, someone talks about that lady before you, Razik, talks about technology, right? All right. So now, we know now that through technology we can achieve a lot of things. But what kind of technology? Now your iPad, your iPhone, your smartphone, that most of your smartphone, the current smartphone or current iPad, that they come with what? Augmented reality, right? AR, correct, guys?
uh,
Yes, AR. So now, it's not that I'm saying that this is the answer, but this is something that you may wanted to explore. Uh, Augmented reality somehow is something that a marketer need to explore or wanted to explore on giving or to deliver experience to the consumer. Meaning, via augmented reality, you can you feel like you are being at that place. For example, like um, I know I think one of the lecturer, she spoke to me last week. When usually we always go for traveling, right? We go travel to overseas, that. But now because of MCO, we cannot travel. She told me something about last week she traveled to Italy through AR, means through augmented reality. Um, she suddenly virtually been transported to Italy, right? Meaning to um, somehow she's through that augmented reality, somehow she been transported to Italy, means she can experience or can see what is in Italy, what's in Venice, and see what the scene like in Venice. So um, that is not the answers. There are other options as well, but these are something that you may wanted to explore. Okay, so as a marketer, you need to look at what is the evolution. Okay, what is the evolution of the marketing of the brand, the promotions. Meaning how from the what do you call this industrial revolution, you have printing, press and printing. You have mass media. Then you have social media. All these are revolution. All these are evolutions of branding promotion. And is apart from knowing the evolutions, apart from knowing about the um, different ways or different what do you call this the evolutions of branding promotion, we also need to think about what are the futures. Okay, so this pandemic, this COVID-19, give us a glimpse or give us some food of thought. Hey, look, now we need to live in the new norm. But as a marketer, I know that I need to deliver experience to them. But with pandemic, it challenged me on how to deliver the experience to the consumer, right? So this is something that a food for thought. As a marketer, you need to think about this. As a international business people, you need to think about this. How to deliver the brand experience with this kind of challenges. All right. Now, any question? Any question? No question? All right. If there is no question, I'll see you next week. Okay, I'll see you next week. But please just think about my question just now. Okay, it's something that you wanted to think. It's a food for thoughts, right? While you are staying at home, just do a little bit of research about this. All right. Okay, if no question, I'll see you next week. Okay. I think we have another one or two more topics to cover before we finish all our syllabus. All right. And
Okay, sir.
all right, don't forget about your group assignment as well, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll see you next week.